Konnichiwa. I just said hello to you in Japanese. Do you know an adult who is desperately trying to learn another language? I was in that category once. I came to America from Japan when I was 23 years old. I studied English as a second language for 6 years in Japan and passed the language test to enter a community college in California. I thought I would be able to communicate with people in English. But I was surprised when I realized that learning English as a school subject was not enough to live in America and communicate with people. For example, when I wanted to say, I like rice, I said, I like lice. My friends just laughed like this. They explained to me that lice were small bugs, and I couldn't understand why they were talking about small bugs when I was talking about food. I didn't know about different consonants in English. I also didn't know about different vowels. For example, I called a teacher at my college dog. My friends told me, no, Aiko, it's Doug. You're calling him dog. I was insulting my teacher without knowing it. Well, if my friends laughed at me or with me because of my English, it was fine. But it was no longer fun when I wanted to build my professional career in America. I studied hard to get into an academic program and get a certification to work professionally, but I failed. I was told, your English is not good enough. Okay, so I decided to try again. I wouldn't give up easily, so I studied harder. 5 years later, I tried again, but I was told, your English is not good enough. Around that time, I learned about a hypothesis by Dr. Eric Lenneberg, who was a linguist and neurologist. In 1967, he announced the critical period hypothesis. He stated that mastering a second language, especially pronunciation, becomes extremely difficult after the age of 12. So that was it. That explained my situation and struggles. For example, although I had learned mouth shapes and tongue positions of each sound in English, there were many words I couldn't pronounce. Take, for instance, the word year, a difficult word for Japanese people. I kept pronouncing it as year. Although I listened to conversations in English daily, I couldn't hear some sound differences. For example, the reason I couldn't pronounce year was because ear and year sounded the same to me. So I accepted Dr. Lenneberg's hypothesis and gave up on my language improvement in my career. Even worse, I now had an excuse to hide behind. If I don't try again, I won't get rejected again, and that's much better than feeling hurt. So I stopped trying. But in my 17th year in America, a series of unforeseen events made me realize that my limited English ability was stifling my possibilities, and that forced me to question Dr. Lenneberg's hypothesis. By now, I knew how difficult it was to learn a second language academically, so I changed my approach this time. I joined a choir to learn the breathing and dynamic aspect of the human voice. One day at a choir rehearsal, I had a revelation. The conductor had just told us to enunciate each sound clearly. Immediately, I felt strong breath, vibration, and energy from the singers around me. I also noticed that my voice was so much weaker than their voices. That day, I realized that I had been trying to see voice sounds as mouth shapes and tongue positions, but the voice is so much more complex. what makes it even more challenging is that we can't see how we create sounds. My focus had now shifted to feeling sounds, to understand sound itself in language. So I discovered the key to breaking through language limitations as an adult was to go extreme. When you enunciate each sound clearly and strongly, you will feel and hear your breath, feel different vibrations in different parts, and feel the energy flowing through your entire body. Because of my discovery, my pronunciation and listening skills improved. I now could tell if I said lice or rice, dog or Doug, ear or year. I clearly felt the differences in the sound of my voice. I suggest to you to always question hypotheses, experts or influencers if their ideas are making you feel smaller or less brave. When I started questioning that critical period hypothesis, I stopped making excuses for my language ability. Learning different languages gives us different views that are valuable, can help us to become braver and stronger. So if you or someone you know has the desire or need to learn another language as an adult, don't let anyone, including experts, influence you to believe that you are boxed in by limitations. Thank you.